Hi, folks. I'm Tim Sweeney. Welcome in to the Long Distance Lounge. This is, I'd say, a podcast that is pretty loosely based around travel, where I get to chat with people from far-flung places around the globe, and sometimes those are people I've met along the way on my own travels, and that is the case this week, because we are going to Iceland. That's a place that I've been to on 2 occasions. Once was just a quick stop in Reykjavik, a 24 or 48-hour layover on my way from Europe back to the U.S., and I think that was part of a smart marketing strategy by the people at Iceland Air, which they may still have, where you got to kind of add on an extended layover to see a bit of Iceland for no extra charge. So they let you kind of scratch the surface and keep building that tourism crave for Iceland, which has existed for a number of years now. The second time I went to Iceland was when I met today's guest, and I was in the West Fjords on a ski touring trip. So this is a place it's a 45-minute flight for us from Reykjavik. I think it's about a 4 or 5 hour drive, although I think the roads have much improved since I was there. My guest today is Rúnar Karlsson, and that is me doing a really bad job of trying to put an Icelandic twist on his name. Rúnar Karlsson to us English speakers. And he's a very interesting guy. He's a really good guy. And he was really fun to catch up with again here on the podcast. He's a ski guide. He's an outdoor adventure guide. He's now a boat captain doing whale watching cruises, I believe. So he's running all kinds of trips out of this small area called Ísafjörður, which I'm sure I just butchered again. He'll correct me. We're going to get into all that. We're going to also talk about how tourism has evolved in Iceland, because if you're a traveler, you know that Iceland has become quite a hot spot to visit, although not so hot, I suppose. Anyway, let's get into it with Rúnar, because he's an interesting guy, and it's way more fun to talk with him than about him, and I've had enough bad puns here and bad pronunciations. So here we go. All right, I'm delighted to have here today, let me try it the right way, the Icelandic way, Rúnar Karlsson. How was that?
That was pretty good, yeah.
Pretty good. Or Rúnar Karlsson, if an English speaker says it.
Yeah.
How are you? Good to see you again. It's been a while.
Yeah, likewise. Nice to see you. Yeah, it's been a while, and things have moved quite fast, though, you know?
Yeah, fast and probably a little slow, too, where you are, because the pace of life is a little more gentle than it is in other parts of the world, I suppose.
Yeah.
Let's start with where you are, where you're calling in from today, where you live, what you do.
Yeah, I'm calling in from Ísafjörður, which is in the northwest part of Iceland. And I'm sitting here at my house, and it's snowing like crazy at the moment.
Really?
I barely made it through the door, you know.
Sort of thing? You're being dramatic. No, so you're in what we would call the West Fjords, is that right? That's
that's kind of the right word for this area. It's like the hand that is sticking out of the northwest parts, with all the fjords and mountain ranges, and pretty dramatic area of Iceland.
Okay, so before we get into that part, I did some research earlier. I just want to know like some stats on Iceland overall, because I'm a bit fascinated with the idea of how Iceland has become kind of a booming tourist area in a way, right? How long has that gone on for? Like, when did it become the place or a place to go? People realized it wasn't quite so far away, basically.
And yeah, that's one thing. It's, with better, more airlines flying in and all that. But I think it kind of started with the eruption in Eyjafjallajökull, which is a very hard name to pronounce.
I'm not going to try that.
2011. That's when things got pretty crazy. Everybody wanted to come and see this volcano, and the word went all over the world. It's about Iceland, and it stopped airline traffic across the Atlantic and all that.
Right. That's right. I remember that now. So that made people want to come, basically.
Yeah, I think that's when it really started. We were getting, I think, like 400,000 visitors a year at that time. And now we're up to 2 million or over 2 million.
Wait, say that again? How many before?
I think it was 400,000 or something like that. And now it's, just over 2 million.
Which is an insane statistic, because I looked it up. There's not even 400,000 people as a population, correct?
Yeah, it's just about 400,000.
Just about 400,000.
Yeah,
okay. Let me, you see if I'm correct in my stats. You probably know them. I was surprised. 65,000 are foreign citizens. Does that sound right? out of
Yeah,
400,000?
that could be right. We have a lot of big Polish community,
Okay.
and like here in town, there's quite a lot of people from Thailand. Surprisingly,
Really?
come here to work. Yeah,
Okay. Wow.
and
All
yeah,
right.
there's a lot of Polish workers here in the construction, and then if you look at people that are coming here to work in the tourism, there's a lot of people working in tourism. Like in our company now, I think it's about, what should I say? We employ in the summer around 30 people,
Wow.
and
Okay.
I would say 80% is foreign nationalities. Not because we want it; it's just that's
You
just
need the
how it
people.
is. We get more applications from foreign guides.
Right. Okay. So a couple more quick stats, Pete, and then we'll get into it. But 100 volcanoes in the country and no mosquitoes.
Yeah,
Interesting. A random stat. Got your independence from Denmark in 1944? That's crazy.
yeah,
I didn't know that.
yeah.
11% of the island is covered by glacier, but it's also not as cold as people think in Iceland. Is that true or false? Although it's pretty cold where you are right now, I guess.
Yeah, it's not as cold as people would think, because the name Iceland, and then you have our next door neighbor Greenland, which
Right.
we should probably switch names because Greenland is not so green, but Greenland has a lot of ice. I call it the first PR stunt in the world. It's when Eric the Red and Leif the Lucky was trying to attract more people to Greenland, to the southwest part of Greenland. They decided to name it Greenland.
Okay.
It is actually quite green in the southwest part of Greenland.
But the rest, you can see it on the
rest is
flyovers when you go from.
90-something% ice.
Is it really? Yeah, you see it when you fly over from the U.S. to Europe and vice versa. You see Greenland,
Yeah.
and it
Yeah.
just looks ice. Yeah. All right, let's go beyond. I mean, a lot of people know Reykjavik. There's a lot of tourism stuff around there. You can do the first time I went to Iceland, I did one of those sort of 24-hour layovers, which is not enough to see, but you get a taste of it, which was very smart by Icelandair and the tourism group, whoever built that in, the little free stopover on your flights.
Yeah.
So you can see a lot in that area. I guess you would know those areas. There's a lot of there's kind of driving loops and stuff, right? From Reykjavik for tourists who just kind of want to rent a car or do a tour, etc.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you see all the stuff you hear about Iceland, but you are a little farther afield, let's say, right?
Yeah.
So when I went there, it was a ski touring trip. I was kind of just asked to do this a couple months before, never even thought of doing it. Turned out to be a really amazing experience, thanks to you and the whole team there.
That's good too.
And it's fly to Reykjavik, and then I think we spent a day, and then you go to the domestic airport and take a short flight, 45 minutes or something, to
Ísafjörður. Yeah.
say it again.
Ísafjörður, which means ice fjord.
Ice Fjord. Okay. And this gets you pretty remote pretty quickly. There's a small village there. I looked it up, but there's a couple thousand people that live there. This is where your kind of home base is.
Yeah. So yeah, there's about 3,000 people living here where I'm at, and that's the biggest community in the West Fjords. We're about 7,700 in the whole of West Fjords. Yeah. So yeah, you can take the short domestic flight, which is about 40 minutes, but you can also drive, and that's about 450 kilometers. And now the roads they're constantly getting better. There's more tunnels and more tarmac, and they just opened the western route that you can drive throughout the year, and that will be a game changer for tourism in the area, because now you can drive a loop throughout the year, depending on weather, of course. But yeah, the road is open all year.
Yeah, because we had to drive back actually because
there
was a lot of weather. Yeah. It was a bit of a circuitous route from what I recall. But is that true? Is there a lot of infrastructure constantly happening in Iceland, mostly due to tourism, or?
Yeah, I think tourism is one thing, and it's also because there's like here in the area, there's been a big growth in fish farming, and they want better roads because they need to drive all the catch to the market, for export from either from Keflavik or mostly from Keflavik, and I heard the statistics. It was like 400 million Icelandic kroner on the roads every day.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a lot.
Yeah. So that makes sense to do the construction.
Yeah.
Because that's the main industry where you are, is fishing. Is that correct? Fishing and tourism?
Yeah,
Mostly
fishing
fishing.
is the main industry and tourism. Yeah, but where I live it's kind of the service hub for all the areas. So here is the the biggest hospital and all this government agencies and things like that. So it's a pretty lively town, and it's finally, after years of recession because of with the quota system, fishing quota system, a lot of the smaller communities around the coastline of Iceland started declining.
Really?
Yeah, because the stronger always buys the smaller one out, and then the quotas left all these smaller communities, and they had to close down the fishing factories, and people moved away, and that recession started in the late, I would say, mid-80s maybe. But now we are finally, the population is growing finally, and that's thanks to tourism and fish farming. People can have their opinions on salmon farming and rainbow trout farming, but that's just the reality of things. And people are moving here, and it's a big boost for the area for sure.
Now, you are not in that business, obviously. You are
No,
running a company. Well, we didn't even say the name of your company, but I will get that in much earlier at the top. Don't worry. Borea Adventures, is that right? Am I
yeah,
saying that? Now, did you ever do anything else? Or I looked up your background, your sort of career trajectory, if you will, on your bio on your website. You've licensed to guide everything. You've done a lot of adventure tourism type stuff. Did you ever work in those sort of traditional areas in Iceland prior to this, or how did you find your way into this field?
yeah. Well, it was kind of interesting because I was actually, when I was in university, you always try to find a good job when you have your summer holiday. That's kind of the tradition in Iceland. You don't go travel or whatever, but you try to earn as much money as you can during the summer months.
Yeah.
So I got a job on a trawler, on a fishing trawler. So it is a freezing trawler that goes out for 30 to 36 days.
Wow. That's serious work.
Yeah, you work 6 hours, 6 hours off, 6 hours on, 6 hours off, for 36 days. And that was actually quite fun, and good crew and all that. And then I came back after the first over a month, and I was very anxious to go and do something. Shit, man, I need to do something. So I went mountain biking, and then I went rock climbing, and then I took my paraglider out and went to the mountains, and the conditions were not very good, but I was like, oh, fuck it, let's go.
You didn't care. You were on a fishing boat for
Yeah.
36 days, right?
I was going out after 2 days or something, and then I just, I got airborne, and I crashed into the mountainside and broke my arm.
Wow.
That kind of ended my career as a fisherman that summer.
Okay. Destiny in a way.
Yeah. So then I was actually living in Reykjavik at the time because I was in university there, and so I went back to Reykjavik and with a cast on my arm, and I went to one of the outdoor stores in Reykjavik, just had nothing to do, and a friend of mine was there, and he was kind of, hey, Rúnar, I need a guide, like tomorrow. Well, I got a broken arm. Yeah, that's okay. How are your legs? Are your legs okay? Yeah, they're fine. Yeah, it's a simple trip. It's only 10 days expedition across the highlands. It's like, okay.
10 days is no, yeah.
So so I did that actually with the broken arm, and that kind of started that. So I started working for him in his company, and guided quite a lot of these treks across the highlands and mountain biking tours in the highlands and stuff like that. And went to Greenland for kayaking, and that kind of started this
adventurous lifestyle. But you were clearly an outdoors guy prior to all that. If you had all those hobbies, did you grow up where you are now, or was it closer to Reykjavik?
No, I grew up here.
Okay.
Up through, like, all my friends were in the Boy Scouts, and we were in so we were always camping over weekends, sleeping in snow caves and all that stuff,
Just normal stuff where you're from.
We were 13, 14 years old, and when I came home from school on Friday, my mom always like, where are you going this weekend? And it's like, oh, we were off somewhere. So I grew up with that, and then I joined the mountain rescue teams and got the training there. And so after university, I worked for the town council here, actually, It's just been all sorts of projects related to, like planning festivals and tourism. I tried to promote Ísafjörður and the port of Ísafjörður as a destination, and did that until 2006, I think. And then we started Borea Adventures.
Okay, wow. Yeah, so tell me a little bit about well, first of all, you mentioned festivals, things like this, because when I was there in May, it's fairly feels sleepy. So we arrive by plane, go straight to a boat, transfer our stuff, our ski gear, everything, take a nice boat out to it's an old kind of farmhouse in a way, right? So tell us about how this thing came to be. I think I remember you telling me a story about it was kind of abandoned, and then you had to clear out snow, everything. So I guess first tell us where the hell this place is. It's not exactly a stone's throw from what is already a somewhat remote village, right, of 3,000 people. This place where you're running adventures out of is out there.
Yeah, that is very remote, actually. And it's only accessible by a boat, really. It's a house that we had sailed quite often past, and it's kind of thought about it like, oh, it's a nice place, or it could be a nice place, but it was in very bad shape. This house was built in 1921 by two families that had actually another house there, a wooden house. So this is a concrete house that they built, and they kind of saw their future there. Like this would be their place.
Wow.
And they had big plans of starting to grow all kind of vegetables, and they sent their son to like a farming school. And
that would be truly living off the land then, out there.
Yeah.
Or the ocean. Land in the ocean, I guess, right?
Yeah, most of the farmers that lived in that area, they were actually more fishermen than farmers.
Yes, it makes sense.
But then the war broke out, Second World War, and we actually were probably the only country that benefited from the Second World War. There's a big boost for the Icelandic economy. The U.S. military came here, and the British military was here. They built harbors, they built airports. So there was a lot of job opportunities in bigger communities. So people that were living in these remote areas, especially younger women and men, they saw that they could move to town and start earning actual money.
Right. Yeah.
So in the 40s, pretty much the whole area that is north of me here just emptied. Like everybody moved out. So they left this house in 1948, and nobody had been there, stayed there until we showed up in 2013. And
wow.
Yeah.
65 years later.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
It is incredible. And but the house was still standing, but this was kind of last minute. Because the roof was almost fallen in and the windows were obviously broken and the basement was full of snow. And we approached the descendants, that lived there, that used to live.
Oh, so their family was still around, just no one was going to the place.
Yeah. And they liked the idea, and we rebuilt the place pretty much. New roof, new windows, new floors, heating, plumbing, septic tank, whatever, water pipes and everything.
Even a sauna.
Yeah, and then a sauna.
Of course.
And so that has worked out pretty well. And we've been running trips there both in summer and winter since then.
Now, do all your trip tours operate from that house, or some go right from town? How does it?
Yeah, it's different. Like in the summer, we have different day tours also, both kayaking and hiking and just general exploration and wildlife and stuff like that, day tours. And then we have more of like an expedition style, like multi-day trekking and sea kayaking, with a mixture of staying in these houses, like in our house in Kvíar and other remote locations, and camping. And then in the winter, we are mostly staying in Kvíar, both for our skiing trips and wildlife photography tours.
Yeah. So that's at the house. Okay. And let's, just for people listening who have no idea, set the scene for just how remote this is, because it's like 200 something square miles. It's called, I'm going to butcher it again. Ready? Hornstradir or something like this?
Yeah, Hornstrandir. Yeah, that's the region. It is.
It's like a park essentially, or protected area.
It's a protected area now. It's been protected since 1974.
And it's very protected, right? I was reading it because Iceland does protect
Yeah.
a lot of land, but this area in particular is...
Yeah. It's no motorized vehicles allowed, no planes, no helicopters, no snowmobiles in the winter even, and no grazing, no animals, no grazing animals, nothing. So it's pretty much the only area in Iceland where it's nature really kind of rules the land. So hikers are allowed, obviously. I mean, that's fine. And then what is also special about this land is a lot of it is actually private land.
Really?
But private land in Iceland and in Scandinavia and Scotland, for instance, is a little bit a different concept than for instance, in the States, where the landowner protects their land with a shotgun.
They don't let you on the land. Yeah. So this is kind of private owned, but shared.
Yeah, privately owned, but you are allowed to pass through. You're allowed to camp.
Ski.
Yeah, ski and whatever, yeah. But it is actually private.
And the boat trip was, how long is it from town out to where the house is?
So our boats we travel around, usually the cruising speed is around 20 knots, and it's about an hour. So it's 20 nautical miles from town, roughly.
Right. And there was no cell service when I was there. I remember you could see it on the top of the mountain sometimes. You'd get it because I would text my mother or someone who's worried about me and say, yep, still alive, still today. I'll check in 24 hours. But that's a beautiful thing nowadays, the fact that you can't actually connect, which is nice.
Yeah, it is kind of nice. And that there are still places in the world where you can't connect to internet, And but yeah, that's definitely quite special.
But it does dawn on you actually, because we skied some fairly steep stuff. I don't know what it is normally, but it felt steep. The group we had was, I would say, fairly accomplished skiers overall, right? I don't know what you normally get there. So I mean, some of the stuff they said was like 45 degrees or something, and you think, okay, snow's great, this is going to be fun, but yeah, if I get hurt here, it's a long way from anything.
Yeah, that's true.
Down to the ocean, onto a boat. Yeah, it's a long way. But what are the tours you're running? So take me through, like, seasonally. I mean, I was joking earlier, it's not as cold as you think in Iceland, which is true, but it's because people think it's just like frigid,
no,
the North Pole, but it's not, because that land is like glacier, well, ocean, not that's not land, but out there is like glacier, ocean, and But what are you doing from season to season as far as what tours come and do?
Yeah, so like now we just started the wildlife photography tours out there. So we have groups that are coming, taking photos of the Arctic fox, which is the only original mammal in Iceland, a land mammal, and it's actually a pretty special animal because they're quite hard to approach. You can see them in Canada, you can see them in Svalbard, but in Scandinavia there are very, very few left because the red fox is moving further north, and they are bigger and more aggressive, and they just kill them off, really.
Oh, wow.
Here they are. So Hornstrandir Nature Reserve has the most dense population of Arctic foxes in the world. So they're pretty common there and easy to see. And they're quite, attractive to humans. They're pretty easy around humans. And so we take groups out there, stay in the house usually for 4 to 5 nights. And people are just standing outside taking photos of the foxes. Pretty simple.
I guess they go on little hikes and stuff too, because it's beautiful around there too. I mean, just the contrast of ocean. Anyone who's ever been anywhere where there's fjords, it's naturally incredible. I mean, I guess we'll get into the different seasons, but the landscapes are like vast, these sweeping mountains right down to the contrasts are amazing.
Yeah. They go on but very short hikes actually, because usually these groups are, I would say, a lot of these photographers have kind of found their passion in photography because they might have some mobility issues or things like that.
Okay.
And they're usually kind of a little older. So some of them actually never go further than 100 feet from the house,
Yeah, wow.
But are very happy. So we supply, with accommodation, good food, and, nice atmosphere. fire up the sauna and stuff like that, and charge their batteries in the evening.
Yeah, you do.
But yeah, it's been a very good kind of add-on to our kind of calendar, because usually like February, March, even into a little bit into April has been pretty dead season for us. But now we are fully booked for next year for this period, so that's very good.
And they get the full treatment. You are a good chef too. You got a beautiful old kitchen down there.
Yeah,
the place is really rustic but cool in a way. I can't tell you the amount of times I banged this forehead on the
yeah,
stairwell, because it is made, as you said, in the 20s. It's not made for people who my height, I guess. So you have to be conscious of the space and the size. But I mean, it's not an attic. It's just a couple spots where but that makes it cool. I think it was really a unique experience for sure.
Yeah, people were shorter in those times.
100%.
They didn't have as much nutrition as we do, I guess.
Right. Less in the mold of the Nordic Vikings as it is today.
And then so after the fox photography, we start then get into the ski season. So when the days are getting longer and weather is usually getting a little bit more stable. So we do that like mid-April, well into May, even sometimes till the end of May.
Okay.
And then we have a little break because kind of the change of the seasons from spring to summer is a little delicate in this area, because you might have a lot of snow melt and all the grass is soaking wet and hard to go hiking. So we sometimes have to wait a little bit until 5th to 10th of June until we can really start hiking in the area. And then we start our hiking trips. And now we have 2 boats, much bigger boats than when you were here.
Okay. Wow.
So that can take 48 passengers.
Wow. Yeah.
And we're doing whale watching tours now. We started that.
Wow. This is big business now, Rúnar, here in just a few years.
Yeah, it's I mean, we decided that we need to have more capacity, and that kind of was a game changer.
Make it work. Yeah. Yeah. Makes sense.
Because in the summer, you have a lot of people that want to go on different stuff, and it was always kind of the limiting factor when we had just a small boat.
So you're doing like day trips and stuff for people who are just visiting the area as well?
Yeah.
Okay. Can we talk about the skiing for a second? Because it was quite an experience. How much skiing do you get to do yourself? I mean, this is all self-powered, we should say. It's all ski touring, skinning up. So what we did in the morning was get on the little, what do you call that?
Yeah, the little rip-up. Yeah.
Zodiac? Yeah. Pick a spot, basically, that you want to ski and maybe go for 20 minutes, 30 minutes, wherever we go to the end of the fjord. Hop on the snow or the grass, start walking, then skin up, then do some climbing, boot packing, whatever it is, and ski down. If people wanted to ski there, it's kind of depends how high up you go, how, let's say, extreme's the wrong word, but you know what I mean, how much you want to challenge yourself, because you can ski steep up top and then it's pretty gentle and mellow down to the ocean. But I mean, what an experience. I guess it's the same. I haven't been to Norway and those places, but we can ski right to the ocean at the end of the day. And it's spectacular. The views are spectacular. Even the snow is great. What types of clientele do you get there for skiing? Because I know you've had pro skiers come through there for filming, all sorts of stuff.
Yeah. I would say most of our clients or our guests are from, say, Northern Europe and North America. That's kind of our main clientele. I remember in the beginning, I was quite surprised that we were getting like skiers from Mecca of skiing in the States, like from Colorado or Idaho or whatever, Utah.
Right.
It's like, what are you doing here? Yeah, so
where the snow is great.
Yeah. But, people are looking for different experience. There's not many places in the world where you can stand on the top of a mountain and you look down to the ocean and you can ski all the way down to sea level, literally all the way down to sea level.
It is.
I mean, you have to go to Antarctica or, northern Norway, maybe, very few places in the world where you can do that. So, yeah, so that's kind of where our main clientele comes from. And we get quite a few mountain guides that have their groups and they come through us and we take care of the service and be like a co-guide or something like that.
Yeah. Because you're a guide yourself, so you can kind of coach them on where to go, what's safe, what knowing their their ability level, that sort of thing.
Yeah, that's right. So that's what we do. And now since I made the mistake of getting a captain's license, so now quite a lot on the boats myself.
Okay, not enough skiing.
Not enough skiing at the moment.
Yeah, major mistake.
But it's fun to mix it together and to be the jack of all trades, master of nothing kind of thing.
You are for sure a jack of all trades. I don't know about the not master of nothing. I mean, how are your photography skills?
I'm pretty confident in that, in that field. But, editing and doing all that stuff is not my thing. Really.
I think that's where the magic is for a lot of photographers,
exactly,
anyway, isn't it? In the editing. So you mentioned a bit where people are coming from. It sounds like it's kind of all over.
Mm-hmm.
How about the weather? Should they be intimidated by the weather? But it's an outdoor place, so you get what you get, right?
Yeah.
Certain times a year, people know what they're getting into, I suppose, right?
This is always a difficult question. We get this question quite a lot. When is the best time to come to, whether it's to hike or ski or whatever? And just like, oh man,
yeah. It's not a dome.
No, just like my niece said, she was kind of giving up holding her of celebrating her birthday, which is, I think it's 3rd of July, because it was always crazy weather. 3rd of July.
Really?
She wanted to have a party outdoors. It's kind of the mid-summer, and it was always crazy weather.
So she's going to change her birth date?
Yeah, she moved the weekend.
Yeah.
It's very hard to tell, but my take on it is just like the weather does what the weather does. We can't do anything about it, really. We might have a down day, but that's how it is. But usually when it comes to mid-April into May, the weather is getting a bit more stable, and also you have longer days, so you can actually go like, there's some wind coming late in the afternoon, so we could just go early and be home at 3 or whatever, or a little bit later and ski until 9 or 10 in the evening even.
Yeah.
If that's the people are up for that,
We had spectacular weather when I was there, as I recall.
Yeah.
And then one day it changed and the snow blew in. It was like squall kind of all day. But I remembered being quite okay with that, because we had done about 1,000 to 1,500 meters a day for 5 days.
Yeah.
The legs were quite happy to sit in the house and have a hot chocolate and a beer or something.
Yeah, no, exactly. People need to kind of, also enjoy that, and bring a book with you or whatever, and book that you have never managed to finish because you're always so busy at home.
Distracted. Yep. And what do people say about that? I'm curious as we get, it's very cliche, but everybody's always on their phones and whatever devices. They can't go 2 seconds without picking it up and looking at it. Do people comment to you at the end of some time out there about, I guess, how valuable it was to detach a little bit from all of that stuff? Do you hear that from people? That it was
I
like
hear
a
that.
refreshing break? I mean, that's why they come there, in a way, right?
Yeah, people are just like, they are mentally prepared when they come, and they know that there's no internet and there's nothing like that, but they actually can walk up to the mountain a little bit, and you can access, like, if you need to make a phone call or something. People are usually just like, I'm not gonna bother with it, and they never complain or anything like that. They're just like, it's kind of nice,
Yeah, I needed this and I didn't know it. Yeah. Well,
they're actually doing a study now in Denmark, taking teenagers out to the nature for 6 days without mobile phones, and they're just trying to kind of see how what it does to their mental state. And it's amazing, like, and they're just out in nature, sleeping in a tent and making bonfires and playing simple games or whatever. That just in a couple of days, they just, like, the mental state just goes like totally different.
Less stress, less pressure, less looking at comparing yourself to other people.
Exactly.
All those things. Yeah, the things that people were doing 30 years ago when they were kids.
Yeah, exactly.
What about, I guess, before we let you go, how about the staff you have there? You mentioned you have, 30 people now or more, but people come. When I was there were guides one guy was a guide from the U.S., I think, from Colorado or something. But it's a bit of a family operation too, right? Like, I mean, when you grow up there, I don't know if your family is from the area as well. Like, all these people kind of live this for their hobbies, right? What you provide as a tour group, the people in the area grew up doing in a way, right? So this is business but play in a way.
Yeah, it is. Like when we started, it's like my thought and my partner that we started the company with me. It's just like, how can we make money doing something that we like to do? Fun to do. I mean, we are constantly going out ice climbing, skiing, whatever it is, hiking in the summer. There must be some people out there that want to do the same,
Right. Yeah.
and maybe pay us a little bit to help them do it. And so that was kind of the philosophy to start with. So now my wife, Nanny, is the manager, and she's my boss, both in my private life and business life.
In your personal life.
Yeah. Then Ricky, our daughter, is also working for us, and our son Arvas works also for us occasionally. I mean, he lives in Norway, but he comes here, heli-ski guide, and he comes here the heli-ski season in the north, and he does a few trips for us also.
Okay.
So it's kind of a family business. And then what I'm kind of proud of also or very happy with is that we get a lot of applications, people that want to come and work for the season. And now we're kind of drowning in applications from
really
very qualified people from all over the place, from Chile, France, Spain, Germany, all over the place.
Yeah. And how do they hear about you? And even tourists, how do they hear about you? Is it word of mouth mostly? People have someone else has told them? It's Instagram, things like this, or like how do you market your business? Because you're in a small town, but I guess obviously nowadays everybody's connected. So except when you're out at the lodge.
Yeah.
Lodge? I don't even know. What do you call that? The camp?
We were kind of struggling with the name. Like lodge is maybe a little bit over the top, but
yes, it's a bit.
Farmhouse is kind of it doesn't have a right ring to it.
No, you need a word. I remember you calling it a farmhouse, and I was like, "This was a farmhouse." I mean,
hut. This kind of, well, when I picture a hut in my head,
it's more than a hut. It's more than a hut.
Yeah, you have to come up with a word for me.
All right, I'll think about it. But it is right on the ocean too. That's the cool. We didn't even say that, but the setting of the sort of camp hut, whatever you want to call it, is. I don't know how far it is down to the water. 100 meters walking, maybe?
No, it's probably like
50?
30 meters.
Is it 30? Oh, okay.
With like that, yeah. It's
that
very
freezing cold stream running down from the mountain so you can soak yourself in there and then go back in the sauna. That is some cold water, though. I just remember doing that.
Yeah.
And you mentioned the little sauna you have out back, which is like, well, at least it was. I don't know now if you've poshed it up, but it was like a little shed with I love the sign. I have a photo of the sign pointing to the sauna as if there's like a long winding road. It's just right up back, but it's quite an amazing setting. But yeah, sorry, I got off topic there, but how do people find you that book a trip there or whatever? Because it's pretty remote.
That's kind of the one area that it's not our stronghold is marketing. We try to keep up with, on social media and all that, and the website and things like that. But yeah, it's a word of mouth. That's also one thing. And then we are working with travel agencies all over the place that are sending their people here and always trying to connect with like-minded companies. And then also, friend of a friend and all that stuff. And the same goes with the people that are applying for work here. Is they have someone that worked with us last year and they want to come. But what has kind of been our biggest treasure here is that there's a university center here in Ísafjörður, and there's a lot of international students that come here for their master's degree in environmental science and coastal and marine science and stuff like that. And that's usually very outdoorsy people, and they are looking for a summer job.
Okay.
And they have housing, and so we don't need to worry about that. And a lot of our people come through that program, and some of them are now full-time employees for us, have been working for us for years, have bought an apartment here and raised a family and whatnot.
Wow,
so
okay.
That's very nice.
Yeah.
I will tell you one funny story that last summer, there were people always talking about the cruise ship industry is kind of in a negative way. I can agree to, some of it, but not all of it.
I've never been on a cruise ship. I was telling someone else on this podcast that I used to write descriptions for cruise ships as a job when I was a copywriter, and I've never been on a cruise ship. So
No, okay.
I won't tell you what brands, but don't believe everything. Yeah, it was kind of funny. I was having to look up all the amenities and then encourage people of all the reasons they should take a cruise. Anyway, go ahead. Tell me the funny story.
Yeah, Lucas, that works for us. He's a very nice guy from the Czech Republic, and he's been living in Iceland for quite a few years. And he was doing this very simple kayaking tour, private tour for guests that were on a cruise ship. And this lady there, a nice lady from the States, she was kind of asking him questions, how many people live here and all that. And then, do you have a hospital? Yeah, we do have a hospital. Okay. Yeah, and it's always a struggle to get doctors and nurses like everywhere. And but now there are some doctors working they're from Denmark and they're from Norway and all over the place. I'm a doctor, maybe I should apply. She said, like, yeah, you should. Lucas told her. And Lucas and Nicole, his girlfriend, that is also working for us. She was pregnant, and then she was giving birth in late November last year, and they were in the hospital. And then this woman comes, and Lucas just looked at her. I know you. Oh, I know you. You're the doctor. And then she actually applied, and now she's a doctor here.
Wow.
This American lady.
Did she deliver their baby?
No, she came and just checked on the baby later, and I thought it was.
Yeah, that's incredible.
Yeah, she came here on a cruise ship, and then just a few months later, she is working as a doctor here.
Yeah, well, he must have done a good job with the.
Yeah. Good PR.
Yeah, exactly. I didn't even realize the cruise ships come through there.
Yes, they do.
Really? I didn't see. I mean, we didn't see the town a lot because we were out at the camp/lodge. And it was I think we were there in the second week of May or something like that to ski. So it wasn't bustling by any means. I mean, I think when the night before we were going back to Reykjavik, we popped into town, we stayed in town, went to a pub or something, but it seemed sleepy. So the idea of cruise ships there is wild to me. But this is 6 years ago now.
Yeah, that is true. But it has it's been a big boom here now because of the. Do you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, it's been a big boom, especially after the war broke out in Ukraine. All the cruise ships that were going, into the Bay of what is it called, Bay of Bothnia, or to the North Sea and all that area, and they started coming up here. So now I think it's about 200 cruise calls each year.
A year. Wow, that's a lot of traffic into your small town. Yeah. But I guess that businesses don't mind to a point. Mind.
But it's a lot of smaller ships also, but it's not like that. But now they set a limit. I think there's only 3,000 passengers a day that are allowed.
I see.
Something like that.
Okay.
Because a lot of these people, they think that it's a Disneyland, kind of thing. Yeah. They come into town and they think that, and they literally walk into people's homes and it's like,
really?
Oh, this is nice. Oh, they think it is a museum or something.
My God.
And of mine, he lives close to the Maritime Museum, and he was like drinking his morning coffee, and then this couple comes in and says good morning, and he's just like, yeah, good morning.
In his house.
In his house. They walk around the living room looking at photos on the walls, and then they come into the kitchen and just like, are we supposed to be here? No, not really.
Wow.
Sorry.
Don't tell me where they were from. I don't want to know. I don't think.
I don't know either. I don't know it.
That's pretty funny. So 2 final questions is, give me the little, I don't want to say sales pitch, but I'm looking for some travel advice if someone comes to Iceland in general and then out to your area. But I mean, you're going to make a trip of it if you go there, if you go to Iceland. I know people talk about it. Brothers mentioned it to me, like, oh, it's not that far. We grew up in the Boston area. It's 5 hours or something by plane, I think. What should they do to have a really cool experience in Iceland? Maybe there's some touristy stuff, and you can include the sales pitch to come and visit you as well. Because, I mean, people do the ring road and stuff. Is that right? That goes around the island, essentially. What's, you're a local. Any insider tips? I know you want to give away all your secret spots, but
Yes.
give me a couple local tips.
Yeah, I would probably focus on the western part of Iceland. For some, I mean, it kind of depends on, of course, which month you're coming. But if you're coming during the high season, I would avoid the southern coast because it's just so busy.
Buses and things like this. Yeah.
Man, yeah, just crazy traffic, lots of buses.
What's the high season in, like June, July, August or something like this?
Yeah, June, July, August.
Okay.
I haven't been there myself in the last few years, but my brother and his wife were there last summer. They kind of drove through and they were just like, they couldn't believe it, how busy it was. So as soon as you kind of get a bit further north of Reykjavik, it's definitely more slow. And Snæfellsnes Peninsula, for instance, where you have the Snæfellsjökull Glacier, is beautiful. And then the West Fjords, let's say if you give yourself 4 or 5 days to drive to the West Fjords, and what is nice about the West Fjords is that you kind of get into a slower rhythm because the roads are, even though they have improved a lot, but still they are, you're going in and out of the fjord, and so you're not driving super fast, and the traffic is usually quite, slow, and a lot of places to stop. There's a lot of hot pools here and there that are kind of hidden or not many people know about, and doesn't cost anything, and the nice remote hotels and hostels and smaller accommodations, and just really nice kind of atmosphere. And then I would probably, if I had time, I would drive towards Akureyri and try to drive across the highlands. You don't need like a super Jeep. You just need a Jeep, a Hilux or something, if you rent something like that, or a Land Cruiser or something. But that's quite spectacular, because as soon as you get above 400 meters or roughly 1,200 feet, you're into just these black deserts and
wow, okay,
very, very weird, like lunar landscape kind of thing.
Okay, yeah, those are the photos you see.
And then you go between the glaciers and these massive big rivers and hot pools and places and stuff like that. Yeah.
And how are I guess the people there now are accustomed to tourists, but how has that been received as more and more people, especially in the summers? Like, I guess for the younger people, they grew up with it, right? But people welcoming of tourists, do they get sick of it in small towns when people pop through, or generally they're like, because obviously language, everything, not a problem. You guys all speak English perfectly. So, well, I should say English for someone like me who's a native English speaker, it's easy. What's the vibe like between tourists and locals, and what can people expect?
I would say in general, it's very good. Might be a few places like in the south that are getting tired.
Crowds and stuff.
Yeah, I like to hear stories of afar. For instance, I'm making this up, but it goes something like this: a farmer that has horses, and there's constantly cars just parked around this farmhouse because people are taking photos of the horse, and you're kind of, what the fuck? Yeah. I need to get my tractor through here.
Right.
That,
Yeah, makes sense.
But generally, people are very, hospitality is good, and people are very accommodated to people. Yeah.
Well, it was awesome with you, the hospitality. I mean, even I should mention your guitar playing and singing, which just gets even greater after a few, say, adult beverages.
Yeah.
It was impressive. I recall some good singing. I think we had a few musicians in the group, actually. So there's some sing the guitar around in the old farmhouse / lodge.
Yeah.
With a few beers and singing. It was great.
Yeah.
Last thing though, you are doing something, I would say, that's quite unique, and you're doing it in your hometown. So you're lucky in that people come to you in a way, but you found your path into this career. I think that, like, your hobbies, your passion, or what you do every day, maybe not as much as you like. You're probably watching people do your hobbies, but you're a conduit to this fun. I'm looking for a lot of young people, I think, or people in a middle of their life wondering, I've spent 20 years doing this. I do this sometimes, I must admit. What if I just changed and did something completely different? I don't know, you have kids. What was your advice in finding things you like to do, or sort of least starting down that path of exploring and landing in a career you enjoy?
Man, that's a difficult question.
It is.
I'm not much of a philosopher in that sense, but
Not philosophy, but what did you find that for you, like, was it, I'll say for me, I would just sort of, it was always like, if there was an opportunity, take it and try the next thing and try the next thing. And it sounds like you took the opportunities that came toward you and were open to things.
My take on this is like, which is kind of general Icelandic thing actually, is that you don't fix your career to something. Like you learn, let's say, business or something in university, and then you're gonna be you want to be a CEO or whatever, or you learn to become an electrician, and then you're always an electrician until you're 65, 70 years old. In Iceland, it's like you're constantly changing careers because people wanna, they're trying out different things. It's like when I was talking to a friend of mine from Austria, and I asked him what his father did, because we were kind of talking about his father, and he said, yeah, he works in a bank. Oh, okay. So he's been doing that for a long time. Yeah, all his life. Oh, really? I was so surprised. And then he asked, what does your father do? Well, he was a musician. Then he was a lorry driver. He was a carpenter. Then he ran a restaurant and a bar. And then he had a chicken farm and a dry cleaning. The list went on and on, and he was kind of, what?
That is a crazy resume.
Yeah.
He's put together.
And then he ended he ran the home for the old people, so it's just, he did the full circle until he went to the home for the old people himself, the resting home.
Okay.
And that's kind of a very Icelandic thing. Like you try out different, and when you're 35, you decide that, maybe I should just study law. Yeah, okay, let's do that. And you meet like a plumber that is also a carpenter, and he is also an electrician, and he also has a permit to drive big lorry trucks. And so you try to kind of, because we're so used to the seasons, you have different seasons. And in the old days, you were, because it was the herring season, you worked in the herring, and then the herring season was finished, and then you had to do something else. And so I kind of like that. And that's kind of what I've told my kids, is that, try to get as much experience as you can. Experience is never a bad thing. And try to learn new skills. It doesn't have to be a master's degree in chemistry or something, but it can be something simple as a license to drive a bus, or a captain's license or something, or a permit to do whatever. All these things add up, and it gives you more opportunities. And it's not good to kind of be fixed on one career path, because that might be a dead end. And just keep your mind open, have the wide angle lens on, kind of thing.
Yeah, and it keeps things interesting too, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Learning is always a good feeling. Learning new skills. And
yeah, exactly. Like I finished now my captain's license, and I also did finish the carpentry school for fun.
For fun.
Yeah, so it's just to have more, I don't know, maybe if I sell this company or get tired of this or whatever, and then I have something to do.
Yeah. You can use those carpentry skills to build another lodge right next to the other lodge if you wanted to.
We actually have 2 projects that are...
Really? 2 projects like that?
See how it goes.
Yeah, good for you. Well, I want to come back someday. It was a really special experience and a special place.
Thank you. Yeah, you should come in the summer also.
Yeah.
Try that.
Yeah, the skiing was fun, but I think the summer would be cool.
Nice to see it in a different.
Daylight from when to when in the summertime?
From all May, June, July is pretty much
all the time. Yeah. Wow. Yeah, that takes some getting used to.
Come for the solar eclipse in 26.
Okay.
12th of August or something.
Look that up. I think you probably have your prices jacked up, so I had to be careful about that. It'll be in demand.
Yeah, it's actually crazy. It's going to be pretty good here in the western part of Iceland. So people are asking about
already. Yeah, sort of once in a lifetime thing to see. Right. Well, thank you, Rúnar, for the time. It's really fun to talk with you again. And I should say thanks for the experience I had there a few years ago. It clearly left a mark with me, and need to go back.
Yeah.
I would encourage people to go back too. So they can find you online. You have,
Yeah,
you have a website, Borea, Borea, right?
.is
Right.
or boreaadventures.com.
Right. Oh, so the first one is the Instagram?
No, Borea.
IS, sorry. Okay. And then boreaadventures.com. And online. If we follow you on Instagram, we'll see pictures of that Arctic fox.
Yeah.
Right.
There'll be our fox pictures coming up.
Yeah. Great. Hey, thank you for the time. It's nice to see you again. I hope to see you in person soon too.
Yeah,
Appreciate
thank you.
it.
Really hope
Appreciate
so.
it. All right, that'll do it for this episode. Thank you for listening. Thank you to Rúnar Karlsson. I told you he was an interesting guy, and yeah, I think he delivered. Really interesting stuff too about career and how people think about that in Iceland. I enjoyed talking to him about that and hearing sort of a different slant than the traditional one we see on LinkedIn and other platforms and places like that where people, promote one career and one path. That's an interesting take he has on it. Anyway, I appreciate everyone listening. If you like the podcast, please subscribe. Please share it with other people. Maybe it's someone who's talking about going to Iceland or just someone who likes to travel. Thanks for listening, and I'll be back with more episodes soon. Take care.